It's a lovely day as always, and we are seated to do justice to the hour 9 to 10. The program is Conversation, and I'm Elizabeth, and I just hope I'm doing well because the topic today hits at what we do for people, especially the first time we see them. We greet them, we ask them, how may we help you? And so, conversation, it will be treating customer service. We started this conversation some time ago, and we promise we'll bring you a part two. We're about to, live up to our promises. And we have someone who is better than I am to, speak, answer this question, conversate with us. Let me quickly let her introduce herself. Madam, good morning.
Good morning, lovely lady. You look gorgeous.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we know that you're somewhere in Savicom. Can you tell us what you do with Savicom and who you are?
Thank you very much. We're happy to be here. And my name is Nnenaka Jemeli. I work for Savicom in the presidency as the National Coordinator and Chief Executive Officer.
Okay. And
my name is Farida Haruna, and I'm a business intelligence. I help people consult for businesses and stuff like that. Thank you.
All right. I'll be needing a lot of your voice as well. So, and my beautiful sister.
Thank you for having me. My name is Lola Bafe from the National Library of Nigeria. I'm an information professional.
Okay, National Library. When I see people like that, I'm told that there's a lot of book going on in their head, if not around them. It's nice to have all of us. But before I get to visit the streets, Madam Nena, I would like to know what was the mandate at the time of initiation of Savicom in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Let me start by explaining what MDAs are set up to do, ministries, departments, and agencies. That is the place where government business is run. And government has thought of the needs of the people, of citizens, and established ministries, departments, and agencies to implement policies of government, and when properly implemented, essence of governance is realized. And so government offices, organizations run government business. And so Savicom was established by the then president to ensure that indeed to facilitate the relationship between the providers of service and the takers of service, the citizens. And so I can quickly paint a picture of two sides of an equation. The provider side being the government, and the taker side being the stakeholders and the citizens. And sometimes we refer to them as customers who go to the different government organizations, including hospitals, including schools, including library, to take government service. Security is part of what government exists to do for the people.
Okay, so in other words, Savicom is a service mostly, provided by government offices, as the first point of call. If I walk into any government office and I'm kind of confused, I locate where the Savicom office is. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, so taking it further, and from the question you have asked, Savicom is established to make service delivery, quality service delivery in Nigeria, a national discourse. In other words, we exist to serve the people. We exist such that the conversation around what government can do in terms of services to touch the lives of the people is made a national discourse. So we should have a lot of information around what government can do for the people, how the people can receive the service. And when that which government has promised to do is not given, there should be Savicom in place. In every ministry, department, and agencies, we have Savicom offices where people can report and give feedback. It does not necessarily mean complaint. It could mean commendation. Sometimes people do well.
Yeah, definitely.
They go out of their way to do things. And I can give examples of where pockets of improvement, pockets of quality, and people going beyond the expectations of the people to touch lives and render services. Savicom exists to prepare the service provider side in terms of capacity building for the civil across the service. All cadres, to prepare them to fill the gaps, to position them, to prepare them to play their roles and responsibilities as service providers to the people. It exists, Servicom exists to check and report on findings of status and quality of services delivered or service experience by every stakeholder, citizens in every MDA. It includes hospitals. And so there are tools to also activate that. So as we go on, I'll let you into examples of how the methods, the channels, and how we work with all of these tools to ensure that we're driving towards improvement.
Okay, so I'm glad that I've been able to get this out, because some time ago we tried to go around to ask a few persons. A lot of them were actually confused as to what this service is, and in my own layman perspective, I just assumed I could associate it with the customer service. I don't know what you think.
Perfect.
Okay, it's perfectly customer service.
It's customer service.
Okay.
No, so let me talk about that with what you have raised. Let me just quickly talk about that. I had started by saying that the MDs, ministries, departments, and agencies run the government business. And so in 2004, government noticed a gap. The then president now thought, with the research done, it was clear that there was no arm of government that runs the government customer service. And so Servicom was established in March 2004. And so with all the research and with a lot of collaboration and help of the then British government, so we were able to, government now formally established Servicom office in the presidency. We can, and ever since that establishment to date, we're working to institutionalize customer service. For real, if you look at the example of the bank, what the customer service does to customers is what Servicom is supposed to be doing to the people. And I can tell you, we are not where we should be. And so for us in Servicom, it's work in progress, and we work to activate and walk through the whole length. It's a journey, actually. And so we're walking through that journey to establish milestones and pinning it down to what should be done by service providers to activate that which has not been in existence before 2004.
So, okay, let me go ahead. I was actually going to say, let me have your voices, coming into the conversation.
So what I want to even ask is, what role does Servicom play in consumer protection? For now, maybe I'm working in a ministry or something, and I see some stuff that I don't like, and I need to report it or talk to somebody about it. What role would they play to protect me, who is the complainant?
I need to make a distinction here. For the customer protection, and I'm sure you know the FCC, the Federal Competition, Federal Consumer Competition Commission exists. There's an agency that takes care of that. It's slightly different for us. That they go to product specific production, protection, and they work around strategies to ensure that indeed the customer gets value for money for each product or service received.
As a consumer now.
As the consumer. Yes, as the customer, as a consumer. For us, it's beyond that. It's about holding government offices much more accountable, working to ensure that they play their roles and responsibilities, which is beyond protecting specific item. And so it's much more beyond that. It is much bigger. And so we have a structure, we have instruments, tools approved by government to check, investigate, assess, evaluate, and then monitor. For instance, we have a tool we call mystery shopping. And so we are empowered. We have used this mystery shopping, yes. So we go to hospitals. I can give you pockets of reports of what we have done using this process. And so we go to hospitals, we go to schools, and so for us, we go to, if you like, activate moment of truth issues. And so we bring it to the table of the CEOs, and we shock people into reality of what before the assessment or evaluation they were not aware of. And what do we do after that? I'll give you an example. We went, we had one of our staff, and we got a report from the field, from the streets, that there was a particular government hospital that was not treating people right. The issue of nurses picking drugs from their, if you like, warehousing drugs in their drawers.
Wow.
And so what did we do when that report came? And it led to the death of a pregnant woman who went for antenatal. Actually, the nurse went to help, but she didn't do it right in accordance with the prescribed rules and regulations of treating a patient.
Yeah.
And so what happened was that she just saw a woman who wasn't very stable during her antenatal, and she quickly went to her, pulled a drug from her drawer, and then injected the woman, and she came down.
Wow.
We lost her. And so a report came to the Servicom office about this. And so what did we do? We now decided to mystery shop all other hospitals within the...
And you found that that was a
Oh,
problem.
we found out that it was a new trend developing. While some hospitals didn't have it, majority of the hospitals.
So if Servicom hadn't investigated, it would be a very big national problem.
Exactly. And so what did we do? I want to describe this scenario so that we can better appreciate some of the efforts and the work we do to bring about real improvement and to checkmate and to hold people much more accountable in what government has put them in place to do. And so we now activated a mystery shopper. We carefully take people and back them up with our staff who are trained, who have been trained and prepared to run assessments and evaluation processes. And so we had a wife of an uncle of one of my staff who was in labor, and so we activated our accountant, a level 14 officer, to go with her. And so she was there doing her work. And so as soon as the woman was admitted, the processes started. And using the prescription of the doctor, which was done through their intranet within the office. And so it's done paperless.
Yes.
And so it was done, and then the prescription came out, it was printed, and so somebody needed to move it from, it was given to the relation, which was my staff, the mystery shopper,
Yes.
to take to the pharmacy to pick up the drugs. And so on her way, she was intercepted by a nurse.
That wanted to.
So the nurse said, let me see what the doctor wrote. And she said, yes. Okay, doctor has said 4 doses here. This one should actually be 6, not 4. This one where the doctor wrote 2 should be 4. And so she changed it around. And so I said, oh, can you please write for me? She didn't know she was interacting with
agent.
That's very
with my mystery shopper.
Yes.
And so she wrote, I said, oh, please, can you? She did, and signed off her name and totaled it. Okay, so this is the total you pay to the clinic, and this is the total you give to me. Go get these ones before you come back. I'll have them. I'll have these other additional ones prepared for you.
That's terrible.
That's
I am
crazy.
telling you a true life experience.
That's crazy.
In my capacity. And so we did that, and so we activated it and engaged the whole team of the hospital.
I hope the nurse was, properly.
Of course. So we followed it through. It's on tape what we did. And so we followed it through, and so when all of this was done, we quickly did the report. And so first we let the MD of the hospital know that this was happening within. They were not aware. And so
Because a lot of times
the next day,
the
next day they raided the drawers of the nurses, and of course they saw huge packages of. So with that they are able to, they shortchange customers, they shortchange patients,
the hospital.
they shortchange the hospital, they shortchange the
Definitely.
and they put health at risk.
Exactly.
Yes. Now, I was going to ask whether you've had any bad customer service,
Well, not really, but I wanted to ask her
Go
a
ahead.
question. Like, what I know about customer service is in 3 stages: before, during, and after.
Perfect.
Yes. So I was going to ask this question: if you know the during, that is when the transaction actually takes place, and you were able to monitor it, what of afterwards? Does Servicom have any procedure or any monitoring team?
Thank you very
goes
much.
further to
I
that?
said Servicom and customer service was a very big, it's a huge area. And so going forward, I want to answer by telling us that Servicom has series of tools that monitor before, during, and after.
Okay.
And so when I talk about institutionalizing, when it comes as an institutionalized initiative, even when Servicom is gone and when nobody is watching, for instance, when the mystery shopper is gone, there should be levels of activated, firmly entrenched frameworks that should drive improvement and sustain that drive for customer service. And I'll mention a major tool in that is practiced world over. That is the service charter. Every government organization, every business should have a service charter. And it speaks to first, it answers the question, what is your mandate as an organization? And so you understand it, you know what government has set you up to do, for instance, in the National Library. You know what government has set you up to do in the police. You know what government has set you up to do in the Air Force, in the military, in schools, in the hospitals. You understand that mandate. Now Servicom says, engaging and with our training and intervention and our support, we enable and activate the breakdown of that mandate into measurable standards and timelines.
Okay, I don't want to call it in, but I know that this for me it's a big deal because a lot of times people will tell you that if you have business to do in government offices, you're as good as you know, a gunner for the day. If you go into any of the ministries, wherever it is, once it has the government attached to it, people begin to lose hope. A program of 5 minutes, a talk of 5 minutes, you could wait, you know,
The whole day.
for hours. You know, some people don't even come to work, you know, until about 2,
2
3,
p.m.
12, and then they spend 1 hour and go. Meanwhile, the public is waiting to be attended to. It's good to know that we have someone to hold on to, an office to hold on to help us, you know, seek redress. But before we continue interacting with you, our team, the winning team, went out to the street to find out from people. Just a question I asked you: have you had any bad customer experience? And a lot of things came to fore. Let's say this.
My worst customer service experience so far has been with an airline. I flew to Port Harcourt last week, and we did the check-in, and when I got to the foot of the aircraft, the air hostess asked me for my face mask. So, you know, I'm fully vaccinated. Generally, COVID restrictions and COVID guidelines have been, you know, stepped down a little. I haven't flown in a while. So when I got to the foot of the aircraft, the first guy asked me for my face mask. And I was like, why did you have to wait till I got to the foot of the aircraft? So where do you expect me to get a face mask now? He said, they won't allow you in. I said, well, something will have to be done because boarding has been concluded. So I went up into the aircraft and the air hostess asked me for my face mask. I said, I have to get a face mask. Where do you expect me to get a face mask at this point? I mean, hello. And she's like, when I came into Abuja, didn't I use a face mask when I flew into Abuja? I live in Abuja. So then she started putting words into my mouth. No, I shouldn't force her to give me a face mask. I should not instruct her to give me a face mask. Hello, you even have a face mask. I didn't know you have a face mask. Can you give me a face mask? And she was so, you know, rude, and she kept attacking me, and I was like, it was like the general normal Nigerian tone. So my final question to her was, how much is your face mask? She just turned, handed the face mask over, gave it to me, didn't even tell me, looked away, and it was like a wave off. Rather than tell me look at my ticket and tell me where to drop. I really would love to mention the name of the airline, but I won't do that.
The last experience I had was not something to write home about. In fact, can I use the word crazy? I actually went to visit a friend, so we decided to get something from a store. After getting it, the receptionist, or should I say the customer care agent, was waiting for us to tip her. I don't know, probably that's how customer service do, but it's becoming a routine for them.
My worst customer service experience are from commercial drivers. When you hop into their car as a passenger, you get a very rude, especially the ones that use normal vehicles like Mazdas and Golfs. If you're traveling, the way they interact with the passenger is very rude. It's not supposed to be like that.
Like this morning, I went to the filling station to get fuel. Despite the fuel increase, I joined queue as a good Nigerian. But to my greatest surprise, something I thought within 30 minutes or so I would buy, I noticed that people were not joining queue. They would follow through the exit line. And I was just busy there waiting until I have to get out of the car. In short, I was discouraged because I waited too long before I was able to get food.
Like you walk into a store or a shop and you ask for a particular product and it's not available, but they don't tell you and they go to outsource. And while outsourcing, there are prices and there are conditions, attached to the outsource, and the customer tend to be the victim of it.
My worst experience has to be when my phone got stolen and I walk into a phone shop to get something small to use, and the service agent just rushes to me and she's like, yes, how can we be of service to you? I tell her that I need a small phone to use, and she just dismissively tells me, okay, you can go to the counter, like, it's small money she's even spending. That's what I perceived. And I went to the counter. Yeah, I got good service at the counter, but the way she received me at the door, I was like, regardless of how much I'm spending, at least I should be treated politely. So for me, that was worse. That was one of the worst experiences. Yeah.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take its pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh,
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys, they're not ready to marry.
Yes. So if she wants to ask something, no, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day I got tired of all that and I said,
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
Okay, so the show is still conversations, and we went out to the streets. You heard all that the people had to say, particularly the first person that talked about his experience at the airport. So we'll get to that, but I want to quickly say welcome to Rakiba.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so how's our new baby doing?
He's well.
Very soon, the baby has to come on conversation. That's conversations, baby.
Inshallah, very soon.
All right, so madam, earlier on we saw what was played, and I want to pick on the first guy that talked about his experience in the airport. Almost everybody that comes into Nigeria or leaves one part of Nigeria or the other via air has one experience or the other to share, and quite sincerely, most of them are on the negative. What is Servicom doing for us?
Thank you very much. I'd like to say that what he said is not too far from the truth and the reality on ground. But I would like to give in to a few things that we'll do to further entrench and activate customer service at the airports. I'll use the example of FAN. FAN is the landlord of the airport. And so when you talk about, I've met CEOs who say, Madam, just work to get FAN to clean the toilets. That's what I desire most when I'm seated waiting to board my flight. Yeah. And so that's very key. I wish I had my phone here. Last 2 weeks I traveled to Enugu, and I entered the toilet with a wet floor. Oh. And I called immediately. I want to say that I want to first appreciate the PEMSEC in Ministry of Aviation. He has activated the network of all the agencies under aviation to go regularly, quarterly, around the airport, come up with service delivery issues and gaps, findings, and he goes step by step writing to the CEOs of all the agencies under the ministry to do their work and ensure that customer service does not suffer. That is not to say that it's 100% everywhere. There are some airports that are doing better than others. For me, it's work in progress. FAN is this. If you go around, you will notice some pockets of changes in terms of improved sensitivity to the traveling public, which is regularly carried out around the screening. You'll see that that rate of delay and people playing around customers' luggages is a lot reduced. And so with the intervention and with the findings of that same committee under the aviation, they wrote to MD of FAN. So they've brought and installing more screening point to make life easier for the traveling public, to reduce the rate of manual search. That has improved.
And I hope to also reduce the excessiveness of what do you call it? Anything for your girls, anything for your boys.
Yeah. Excessive greeting.
Happy weekend.
Greeting. That is also an attitude that we also work to. But then they'll have a lot of information, and sometimes the problem is also partly on the provider side and then partly on the service taker side. And I'll give you an example. If you go around there are key information that people should take note of at the airport. If you're traveling, your perfume should not be, you shouldn't carry anything more
liquid.
Yes, your perfume shouldn't be more than 100 mils.
Okay.
For hand luggage or cargo?
For hand luggage, if you must travel with it. But if you check it in, fine. There are also, even with cargo, there are some liquids that are, it's all listed. Please take time to notice that. It's part of the information we let out to make life a lot easier. You know, when you're catching your flight, you have, if you like, you have to quickly fast track your process so that you don't miss your flight. Yeah. And so there are obligations and information around the website, around the airports, that we should take time and look at. And so that when we keep to those provided obligations, and we adhere to those rules, and then we expect that it makes life easy for the providers as well. Okay. Let me say that it's not all providers that would behave as expected 100%. And so we have some that ship in and some that ship out of the norm. And so we have the Servicom committee, we have the Servicom
in their jackets. That's why we have deliberately going forward driving improvement. They are visible, and so you can approach them, and there are desks.
Okay.
But let me also say, at the private airports, there's a difference between government and private. So that I will also explain. So some of the gaps you notice at the airports happen at the private. And so what we're working to do is that which government has put in place at the federal government airports or state airports, it should also be made, we should also roll it out to the private airports so that we are all on the same page. A lot of times we just say government is not doing, but there are
sometimes
levels of mandates. Yes, so but this is not known to us. So the traveling public. So that also brings that confusion. Yes.
You guys you've done amazing job.
Thank
and
you.
Literally everything you said, it's amazing. And some people don't know about this.
Thank you.
And the question right now is, how do you guys create awareness for people in the rural areas, people that are not, I wouldn't say well educated, but the low class? How do you explain to them Servicom? How do you explain to them that it's also their right to like report or go for complaints, or if something is not working out for them, how do you explain to them?
Well, because this is very important. A lot of our people feel every single bad thing done to them, we should just say, okay, my God will see you through.
Yes.
And then when the next person who hasn't experienced it will say, okay, we pray that it will never be our portion. But the thing is, your God will see you through when you begin to open up. And some of us don't open up, like he said, because we do not know it. So how far reaching are you to the grassroots?
Because we too, you've opened our eyes to a lot of things, because we've learned from you right now. So I want people at home seated should also
pick up.
Thank you so very much. As I said, it's work in progress for us, because there are levels of initiatives we've brought in to ensure that we're reaching out not just to the elites but even to because they're also citizens. They are also constitutionally entitled to get quality service from government.
It's their right.
It's their right. And so that's why I use the word, the constitution provides for that. And so we had to go think out of the box to be part of a program, the Brekete family.
Okay, nice. Okay, yeah.
So every Tuesday I go with my team of staff.
Okay.
My awareness team.
Yes.
Yes.
It reaches everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so people tune in.
People,
they call like God. I'll give you an example of a Nigerian who came on vacation with his family. He lives in US. And so he came with his whole family in excitement. They hadn't been home for years. And so when they came in, they had an issue when they were boarding their flight to go back. And so to show you the level of awareness that has been raised, an officer at the airport in Port Harcourt, and I have this on tape, I could share with you. And so the office, they were having difficulties because somebody wanted to shortchange the process and shortchange them. And so the custom officer looked at the man. He was looking very distressed and said, he called him to the side. He said, Oga, come. Look at that woman in jacket. That's a fan customer service, Servicom staff of fan in Port Harcourt. He said, go to that woman. She would help you and you will solve the problem. Go to Servicom. Say, what is Servicom? So that jacket, when we are not there, we're in Abuja. This is Servicom speaking in Port Harcourt, just to answer your question. And so the woman intervened, stopped them from extorting the man, and they did not miss their flights. So when I was having a live radio program on a Tuesday, the man called in. He had gotten to US. And it's on tape. I could share that with you as well.
Nice.
And so the man called in and said, Madam, Servicom saved me millions.
Wow.
This is what happened. This is the woman's, you can verify, Madam, you're doing a good job.
That's good. And a lot of
people Berekete family is a platform deliberately, intentionally engaging with them to reach out to more Nigerians. And I have all classes, all categories, all levels, Nigerians, non-Nigerians, as long as you're within. And so this is the objective, this is the thinking behind this engagement. Oh sure, they even enjoy it more.
For example, this man now, when he comes back, he knows that he has a right to,
you know, his mother had issue from the village, said go to Servicom, look for it.
All right, so let's quickly interact with the public who have been writing with us. He said, my name is Peace from Asaba. Employees in supermarket need a lot of training. Employees sleeping on duty, even in offices. Customers will try to ask them one question, they scream at you. Sometimes they even get to the point that they get physical. Do you just leave it for God, or do you take action? You know, she's talking about ensuring that we train people properly.
You want me to talk to that?
Okay, you can.
Thank you. Let me distinguish between what happens in the private sector and what happens in government. And I'll use the example of our international passports. You know, in government, we have ministries, departments, and agencies that run services that have complete government has complete monopoly of. CBN, for instance, immigration, Nigerian Immigration Service, prisons. And so going forward, we work very hard. The emphasis is on the government to do it right, because there's no alternative to going to those services that they provide. Complete monopoly. And then you look at the banks, the private sector. If I don't like the services provided by Bank A,
you move to Bank B.
Bank B to Z to go to.
Yeah.
And so I have a choice. And remember, the motive in the private sector is commercial.
Yes.
In government, is not. And so you see why our energy, our heart, our chest is on the government. They need to get it right so that lives can be touched. The benefit of why government is in existence can be reaped by the people.
But even the attitude for the employees is different. When you employ someone in the private sector, he does a better job than a government sector because he feels it's my motherland, I can do whatever and get
exactly. That is
so
another.
There's also an attitude problem that has been going on for a very long time, which needs to be corrected.
Honestly, what you have said points to the facts. If you look at the difference between what happens here, developing world, and developed nation, love of nation in developed nation is 100%.
Yeah.
But here, and so that's the foundation of all what we're discussing. Would be built.
Yes.
And so when you employ somebody, for love of nation, let me do my work right, because somebody is waiting to receive the result of my effort, and I'm paid to do this.
But the attitude is always, we don't get paid, we don't get treated well. There's this frustration that the government is not doing enough to make me comfortable to execute my work diligently, you know. So there's a lot of issues. I
sorry,
think government has to...
if I might come in, she has just said it, that the love of the nation should supersede personal interest.
In addition to what you're saying, let me just come in here. In addition to what you're saying, sometimes people get paid their salary as at when due.
Yes.
And they don't go to work. How do you explain that?
It's attitude.
It's attitude. And so it goes to the pointer as to what should we do. We are here to add value.
Yeah.
If you are employed, remember there are those who are on the street looking for the same job.
The same job.
And so you are now appointed, you are employed,
you're being paid.
You're being paid. People's taxes. No, that's another matter.
That's another matter.
No, for that,
so now comfortable.
Yes. So now, for that which you are paid to do, deliver service to that level to which you have received.
Yeah.
And so not to do it at all, it's also a problem.
Now, Sevicom, coming in on what you've just said, I'd like to know, if I discover as a customer to a government place, or even a staff, you know, in a government work environment, that certain people play truancy to their job, or certain people use government facilities as personal things.
Happens a lot.
From their car to the offices.
Even to office space, yes. Office
so stationery, let me help you.
Okay, stationery, biro.
Stationery, biros, papers.
Can I report officially to Sevicom?
Houses.
And does Sevicom have anything to do to redress that?
Now, yes, we have. And let me start by telling us that for every government establishment, we have rules and regulations guiding. PSR is robust in nature.
Yes, public service rules.
Yes, is robust in nature and has
very detailed,
and speaks to every including the issues you have raised.
Yes.
And so there are framework, there are handles, there are tools, but we need to begin to activate them.
That's the word, activate, because they're there.
They are there.
We don't use them.
Exactly.
So they need
and
to
so
be activated.
sometimes part of what we do, using some of the tools approved by government for Servicom to use, an example is the mystery shopping. We go to shock them into reality. You have this, activate it. We have this, wake them up.
And I like the mystery shopping when they are not even prepared.
No.
So they are not ready to.
So there's no room for window dressing. And so we see reality, stark reality. And so we call it moment of truth. And so where you have government in a hospital, they have provided toilets. And you have antenatal session. I'm sure you know what, somebody is here for scan and drinks over 1 gallon of water. And she gets to the toilet. This, I'm telling you, I'm giving you an example of the result of our mystery shopping. And the toilets are locked. And you see the cleaner is sitting down and making phone calls and gisting and eating somewhere. Or even sitting in front to be sure nobody enters the toilet. She has locked it and kept hidden the key somewhere. You know why? These women are always dirtying the toilet. So disconnect.
I don't want to.
Like that is not what she was employed.
Exactly.
That's a problem.
Exactly. So there's a disconnect. Now attitude, disconnect, not even understanding what's the job specification, what she's employed. You're here because that toilet is dirty, and that's why government is paying you. And so you see the multiple levels of gaps. Service delivery gaps.
I think it still boils down to, you know, the human resource angle, and this time around your office will play a lot of role in orientating people, even if it means reorientation, really,
and monitoring also.
Yes,
we do that.
You do a lot of monitoring. At the point of employment, a lot of government agencies do not hold orientation courses anymore.
Induction orientation.
They don't hold that anymore.
Regular engagements will also solve this problem. I'll give you an example. When we have our Servicom, we train them, we raise capacity, and we have different training models to address these issues. I'll give you an example. First quarter, I told Fan, I said I would like us to work with the PEMSEC to give award to the best cleaner of the
motivation.
I said I would like to do that. Let them know that the government, there was a motivational speaker who spoke to my staff, and then she played us a video of a toilet cleaner in an airport abroad, and he wrote there, "Welcome, this is where I received the presidents of the world." Do you know toilet cleaners who work at the airport receive presidents? They enter their office. A lot of us are not privileged, so we need to value that work we do. And so he wrote it bold. He said, "Oh, this is my office where I receive presidents of the world." For real.
So he cleaned it.
Yes. And then they did a video of him, and he got an award from his president for that. This is the way he sees his job. So that's where we should go. But we're not there
as
yet.
a nation.
All about
as a nation, all of us. Attitude is everything.
Attitude.
And so working together, and I must mention this, it has to be a lot of synergy, a lot of collaboration. Servicom does not have a magic wand to wave and everything about service delivery falls into place. And so we engage. We need to engage.
Orientation is very important.
Very key. So National Orientation Agency, as I talked about love of nation, we need to synergize. We need to partner. We need CEOs to now firm up their supervisory roles.
Exactly.
Enable, activate Servicom. Some MDAs do not. Once you have the Servicom person posted out, it dies, and we have to go back. We keep going back and forth. So they need to own it. They need to own it.
I was just wondering, the lady that locked up toilets and said that
the women are
mess up the toilet.
I don't support her treatment of the women, but at the end of the day, I think the general masses really need to be reoriented. Because if I were a cleaner, I mean, I wouldn't be very comfortable every 5 minutes I'm packing somebody's dump. You know, it's not funny. So people should also learn
both ways.
To clean up. While we are talking to the workers, we're also talking to the users as well. It's important. The worst for me, you are going to say something?
No, continue.
Okay. The worst for me is certain canteens. I mean, why I'm particular about restaurants, is that whatever happens to us internally, a whole lot is based on what we ingest. You go to a public eating place, you see cockroaches, you see rats, and sometimes you're given maybe a donut or something, you pull it open, there's a strand of hair. Whose hair?
Wow.
So if it's a government establishment,
even
can I also flies, right?
Wow, that's terrible. Flies
Perching all over.
Did you say
No, I've been flying
it's
around.
real.
No,
It's
inside
real.
the food. I opened
At
up the
times,
moi
yeah.
leaf and there was a fly. in it.
Yes, you return
real.
your okra soup to eat. There's a fly inside.
Oh my God,
And if you're not careful, you already ate some of it. It's true. It's
That is
happening.
real.
It's happening. When
Yes,
the place
it
is not clean, that's what you get.
That's what you get.
You know. So as a government worker, I working in a government.
But sometimes
establishment,
the place might be clean, but the workers are not being monitored or supervised. You know,
Properly supervised.
properly supervised.
And then they are not also put through what's the do's and don'ts.
At least if you're in the kitchen, you should have your chef cap
Oh,
on.
sure.
You should, you know, take care of the place.
Not
Make sure
just the
there's
kitchen,
free
even
of
in the
flies.
hospital. If you go to India, no woman comes to work with open hair. You must pack up your hair and not it.
Tie it up.
There's a net. They have
That you
standards.
have to, yeah.
You must cover it up, because in the course of the rush and in the course of doing your
Anything
work,
could happen.
and so let's set standards and begin to implement those standards.
So
There
my
are
question
things
is,
you
can I
do.
report such eatery places
Yes.
to you?
Oh yes, you
You
can.
know,
In
because
the
I don't
government
wanna-
In
offices.
the government, yes.
Yes.
Ma,
Do you
where
also
my-
handle private restaurants? Can you handle
Exactly.
private restaurants?
I was going to come to
It
that.
stops at
ma.
the government section.
But what we
Government
do,
canteen.
yes, government canteen. What
But
we
who
do
now
with the private,
regulates the private sector?
Exactly.
there are regulators who firm up what should be done. And so what we do, for instance, if you're looking at the issue of power, you have NEC who regulates what they do
Yeah.
since they've been unbundled. And so we firm up what NEC is doing to put them on check.
Okay.
To formally regulate those policies and firm up what should.
So it's
and what
active already.
shouldn't.
It's ongoing
active.
already.
It's there. And so there's an indirect relationship that speaks to these issues. And so what we do is tell the regulator, those overseeing those private sector initiatives or offices, to firm up what they do. And the rules and the laws are there. The legal instruments are there. Begin to activate and apply them. That's what we're
So
saying.
talking about restaurants, do you ask for NAFDAC registration, all of these things? You go to the space where they
NAFDAC
cook.
is under, let me deliberately what we have done for government organizations that have high customer facing services. We bring them under approach, direct supervision and direct relationship with us. For instance, NAFDAC is under Servicom watch and protocol. And so when we have issues around delays, and so quarterly, I had mentioned quarterly, the customer service arm of NAFDAC must report to us what they are doing to firmly entrench and institutionalize customer service. It runs every quarter. And so it's ongoing, and for those who come in, and this is something we take very, very seriously. And I can also report to pockets of improvements that are coming up, initiatives of thinking out of the box. What can we do better?
All right, these pockets of
One day
improvements.
we'll get there.
No, these pockets of improvements. Maybe by the time we get there, we will leave from pockets and move to bags.
Bags. Thank you.
Alright, so a
That's
lot of people are
aspiration.
writing in from different states of Nigeria. Let's see the much you can take before we quickly round up. How do you help us with our policemen in terms of extortion? They are government workers too. Can we report to you? This is Rashid from Oyo. I'll take all of the questions at once. And then this person says, good morning, please. I want to know whether Servicom covers banks as well. If yes, please, you guys should you have a lot to do at the customer service area. The bankers are not just working. This is John from Makudi, and from Ilori.
Their attitude is even terrible.
Ilori says, I am
And
Midun
policemen.
Titi from
Your
Ilori
money
Kwara
will
State.
be
Please,
like-
I want to know if Servicom also covers the Nigerian banks. Okay, this one is still on banks because the scam and all that. That's on the bank. Madam, you will take that later. Let me take as much as we can before we move. Good morning. Can you please help me, Madam Servicom? Is there any phone number to reach her and her team in time of disappointment? Okay, how can we reach you in terms of disappointment? And that's from Asaba. Dogara from Bauchi says, I love this program and it's always giving awareness to me on a lot of things. I enjoy it. Okay, thank you very much, Dugara from Bauchi. Let me just take just one more. This is Peace from Asawa says, a patient broke a doctor's head because he pushed her mom. Actually, he was treating a patient and she was distracting him. I don't know.
I don't understand that.
So we have just 2 minutes. My director tells me to answer.
All right. Okay. Very quickly.
They talked about police. And
Yes, the police. We have Servicom in the police. Let me say that there are some MDAs, Servicom platforms in the different MDAs, various MDAs that are doing better than others. The police is work in progress and it's a tough terrain to walk. Huge issues. I admit to the fact that we have huge work and effort to do, and the regularity of the changing of the head of Servicom there has not helped my matter. I've pushed forward, I've met with the IG and he has promised to activate, and so I do that very, very regularly.
Okay, so what about the banking sector? Is it?
Yes, the banking sector, as I've said, we are working very closely and we can report to huge improvements, engaging with CBN, who is the banker's banker and the bank's banker. And then we also work with NDIC that ensures the deposits and monies of. And so we have all the people working around the supervisors and those who supervise and regulate policies.
Yes.
And regulate policies around the bank. So now for phone call, you can reach us on our website. But let me say this, there's a program that everybody must tune into every Tuesday.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, so
every Tuesday.
Just before we go, your final word. Our time is almost up.
Thank you for this expository conversation on Servicom. I have learned a lot, and I'm sure the Nigerian public has also learned. But like, my question is, how do you have talked of synergy, collaboration and partnership? There should still be something, you know, that should be done between the private and the government, so that we have a robust.
No, we have something already. For instance, there are foundations that are partnering with us, and so that's also activating it.
Thank you so much, Ma, for enlightening us and then reminding us on certain things that we know about what we don't activate.
Yes, thank you.
Nigeria will get better.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to you've made me know a lot about Servicom.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And the show is still Conversations, reaching you from the NTA. Whatever it was, you're my customer, so I'll just do your service and be here again next week. My name is Elizabeth. Please, whatever you do, be good citizens. That's where the first point of customer service starts.
Our website has our phone numbers.
Okay, phone numbers.
Take that.
So while we roll out.